Tonight, I'm going to be talking about eye contact. And eye contact is something, hey, Jessica, thank you for joining me. Eye contact, is something that is really misunderstood. And I want to set the record straight, help you understand eye contact and why your child may or may not use eye contact, what it all means, and how you can improve your child's eye contact. So one of the things that I am so passionate about is that when any family I work with, I tell, raise the bar. Raise the bar. Hi, Shelley. You found me again. Raise the bar higher. We always want to be expecting more from our child, but we also have to understand, hey, how to make these changes occur. So, eye contact, let's talk about that. So, generally speaking, most kids with autism don't make eye contact. Now, that's a very general statement, and every child with autism is different, right? So, some make lots of eye contact. Some make very little. So let's just think about the definition of the word auto, as in autism, okay? I just got to check my network. I hope I'm on the right network. Yes, I am. So auto means self. Think autobiography, right? Autism. So autism is about self, because our children with autism did not have a typically developing beginning to their life, okay? And this is something that so few people hear, except from me and a few other people, that our child's development was disrupted because of the wiring in their brain. And this wiring in their brain prevented us from being able to parent them in a typical way. Are you with me? You know that if you have a child with autism, you cannot parent your child the same way you would a typically developing child. Okay? And so why don't our kids make eye contact? So I want you to think about photographs that you see of moms with infants or dads with infants. And you will inevitably, you will inevitably see them up, very close to one another and making eye contact. So this is because an infant obviously has no speech. And the only way they learn to communicate is through nonverbal communication with their parent or caregiver. So what this means is that they learn to understand how to communicate, how to connect through nonverbal communication. So that's where it begins. And once the relationship has been firmly established through nonverbal communication, so, knowing when they're connected, knowing when they're not connected, understanding when, mom is unhappy, which is very upsetting to a child because they have this emotional feedback loop that is seamless, that they understand each other, which is really incredible when you stop and think about it. So this little person learns all about communication before words even become available. And so by the time the child is able to speak, they already understand nonverbal communication. Am I making sense here? And so the relationship deepens and deepens and deepens, but it all begins with non-verbal communication. And so what that means is that eye contact is the very foundation of all communication for typically developing children. But in the case of our own children, their development was disrupted at a certain point, and every child is different. Yes, thank you, Shelley. Yeah, so they don't make eye contact, not because they're being rude, not because they don't care necessarily, but because they don't understand the value of eye contact. Okay, so just set that thought off to the side for 1 second. I want you to think about if you and I were sitting, if you were sitting across from me and we were having a conversation, why would we be making eye contact? Okay, think about that for a second. If I closed my eyes or looked elsewhere, not at you, what would I be missing? I'd be missing so much. Hello, Lauren. Thank you for being here. I would be missing, like, words are like the lyrics of a song, but the lyrics are only one part of a song. There are umpteen other things about a song that make it compelling or frightening or make our hearts swell or make us feel elated, right? So eye contact is like, it gives us 10 times more than the words that are being said give us. So when we look at someone and we're having a conversation, we look to see, what their facial expression is telling us. Are they being sarcastic? Are they wary? Are they talking and expressing something they're proud of? So these are all really important pieces of information. That's only facial expression, right? And then there's body language. There is, how are they holding themselves? Are they relaxed? Are they tense? Are their shoulders up to their ears? And so eye contact gives us a tremendous amount of information, but a child with autism often has missed that whole piece of nonverbal communication and what we gain from it, because it tells us so much about how that person is communicating with us and the meaning of what's behind it. So why would a child with autism make eye contact if all of what they were looking at had no meaning for them? They wouldn't. And that's why they don't. So I want you to think about, I know I've worked with many families whose kids have been in social skills programs where they have, encouraged them to look at the person they're talking to, say hello, shake the hand, and look at that person. And so my question to you is, who's benefiting from that child looking at you? Given what I just spoke about, the child isn't gaining anything from that nonverbal communication because they do not yet understand the language of nonverbal communication. So all that information, that rich, vast amount of information is lost on them because it has no meaning. So when a child with autism is instructed to look at the person they're talking to, it's not helping the child because they don't understand what they're looking at. It helps us. It makes us feel more comfortable. So teaching eye contact has no value. However, hello, Jamie. Hi, thanks for joining me. So can we improve our child's eye contact and nonverbal communication? Absolutely. Yes, Yes. And I'm going to share how. Okay. The first thing is, please don't ever prompt your child to look at you. In fact, it might make listening even harder when you ask your child to look, because sometimes it can be distracting, it can be uncomfortable for your child. So, and often they can take in as much as they can take in when they're listening. So here's how we begin improving a child's nonverbal communication skills and ultimately eye contact. So we are so guilty in our culture of having what I call like drive-by communication. So I'll call my son upstairs and say, dinner time, or, where's your backpack? Or do you have any homework? Or this or that. But we don't necessarily, hi Lynn, we don't necessarily make sure our child is even paying attention to us. Right? So I call these like drive-by conversations, because we're ships passing in the night. There's no real, true, honest communication. So the first thing you can do is you can go up to your child, get down to their level, or in Shelley's case, up to his level, and put a hand on the shoulder, or just, hey, and make eye contact. And then, so what you're doing is you're making sure that you're attending to one another. Okay, so that's the first thing. And then you can say 2 or 3 words. You can say, hey, I was wondering, what happened this afternoon? And I look ridiculous doing this, but thanks, Shelley. But the more we use exaggerated facial expressions, and it feels weird at the beginning, the more your child is going to be, first of all, curious about what's going on for you. Okay, so they are going to look at you because they're thinking in their minds, what the heck is going on with mom? And then, so we can make these animated gestures and facial expressions. So that's one big vehicle that I use in coaching my parents. And then another one is using a pause. Okay, so for example, how many times have you heard this? Mom, where is my backpack? Where are my shoes? Where's my this? Where's my that? And so when you hear that, I want you to go to your child and then say, what were you looking for? And then it's the question is going to be, where's my backpack? And then you could say, And guaranteed, 80% of the time your child will look at you because they are curious. It's not the typical kind of communication that you would use. And another thing you can do is be humorous. Okay, so where's my backpack? Oh, I think I saw it in the microwave. Use humor. Hi, Lisa. So we can do unexpected things to pique their curiosity and encourage them to look at us. And the more that we can encourage them to look at us through these things, such as using animated facial expressions, using gestures with no words, being humorous and silly, and inserting pauses in what we're saying, our children can then look at us more regularly. And our kids are not stupid. We know that, right? They just need practice at learning the things that their typical counterparts learned when they were little weenie ones. Okay, and here's an idea that I've given to some of my clients that I would invite you to try. And this will all depend on your child and their age and stage and so on. But try having a silent dinner. So you just sit down, you say, tonight we're going to do something different. We're going to have a conversation without words. And this applies even if your child has very little speech, okay? Because we're focused on solely nonverbal communication. So we sit down and, we take a bite. Or or as in, pass me some of that, please. And then when it's passed, thank you. Or you could look at your family and point to the dinner and say. So all of these things are such simple things to do. And these are things that will build our children's neural pathways in new ways. And our children are so capable of learning these things. What does it take, though? It takes understanding, it takes knowledge, it takes support, and it takes practice. And so I'm going to keep this short. Do you have any questions? Any quick questions before I sign off? So when I talk about nonverbal communication with a family, I like to give them like kind of a buzzword to keep top of mind. And so the one that I use to encourage eye contact is mime, okay? Because when we think of a mime, we think of someone who is full of all of these expressions, but no verbal communication. And I'm not saying not to talk, but to use verbal communication sparingly, because we want to be focusing on all the other elements of communication besides language. In our world, we have become so focused on using blah, 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 blah. And, we're so connected to our phones and less so connected to our kids. So I want you to try some of these things and let me know how they go. Your child is more than capable of learning how to use nonverbal communication. And through that process, you will see more eye contact. All right. I hope this has been helpful, and try it out. Thank you so much for being with me.